Hey everybody, today's lesson is a game changer. I'm relatively self-taught, but when I was in college I had a little stint where I was studying with a jazz teacher and I was so overwhelmed. I had to remember every scale and mode, and they all had different shapes, and every chord you could possibly imagine I had to learn, but there were 15 different versions of each one, and I couldn't read music well, and I was just so far behind and so out of my league when I was doing that. It was an epic failure. But it worked to my benefit because it really got me to study the things that I love and to open up my ear and learn by ear. And I had so much more enjoyment that way. I don't mean to say anything wrong about studying jazz. People do it and it's great and it amazes me, and I love jazz. And I really do play a little jazz, and I love it. But it just didn't work for me. It over theorized everything and just really took the love of music away from me. I even put the guitar down for years after that. But then I picked it back up and developed my ear and realized that playing guitar is like a language. You learn little bits and phrases, and then you start to learn how to say them different ways and with different expression. And that really was what music was for me. And once it became more emotional like that, I really started to take off much better. But this technique I'm about to show you is an absolute game changer. It took all those endless scales and all those 15 different ways to play chords and extremely simplified them. And I think you'll love this. And if you really take a little bit of time and study it and practice it yourself, you're going to be like, wow, that is just absolutely amazing. I can play anything I like, and that sounds good, anywhere on the neck with one simple little adjustment. It's absolutely amazing. The only requirement is you have to be able to find notes on the guitar. And luckily, I have videos on that as well. So look back at my channel, find those videos if you really think you're going to need extra help in that. But other than that, this technique is extremely simple and mind-blowing and game-changing. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. Today, I'm going to show you something that really increased my command of the guitar neck. And I still am amazed by it and its simplicity every day, even as I continue to play now. This is something you can use when you really like a shape, like for instance, this E chord. This is your typical E chord shape. All right, and you've got this one, the low note on the A string, the red note on the D string, and the G string. It's got a very major sound to it. Now, let's say you wanted to play that an octave higher, but you're on an acoustic, so it's hard to reach that octave higher by going up 12 frets. So maybe you want to play that same shape somewhere else on the guitar with the same three notes. Maybe you like the sound of this shape on a different string set, or maybe even you don't want to play an E chord, you want to play an A chord using that shape. This technique can be used to help you overcome that. Sometimes when I'm playing, especially live, I might forget something that I've practiced a ton of times, but I've got a note on the guitar that I can see, I know exactly where it's at, and I want to play this shape. I might be able to use this technique to jump right there. So let me show you how it works. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is that that red dot is there for a specific reason. That is our root note. That is an E note right there. It's an octave higher than the low open E, which you can see there's no dot on that. But if I play the red note, it's an E, an octave higher. And these three notes sound great over the bass note E. Now, that's not the only note you can play those over, but if you do change the root note, you may change the chord and its function. But for right now, I just want you to know that that red is where we want to place the E note. Now, if we're going to play an A chord, we want that red note to be on an A. So let's adjust our shape. Okay, I moved it over. Now you see that the red note is 2 frets above the G note. So if we go G, G sharp, A, that's now an A chord. But listen to that same shape on this string set. Wow, that's not major, that's minor. Why is it that the same exact shape sounds different on a different string set? Well, it's because of that B note. And I've explained it in some of my other videos. The B note was adjusted on the guitar because we have a limited amount of fingers we can use to finger different chords. So the early creators of the guitar decided that B needed to be tuned down a step, which means that anything we want to play on there needs to be a fret higher than you expect it to be. So if we take that note and we change it and slide it up from where it was, which was right here, now we slide it up to here, we go from this to this. So that's the same order of notes that the E chord shape had, the roots in the middle, but when we move over here, now it's an A chord with the A in the middle. So that's why our E shape and our A shape look like different shapes when you play them, but they're really the same order of notes relative to the root note. On E, it sounds like that. On A, it's going to look like this. Now we can play that same shape up on the 9th fret, and that's our E chord again, but an octave higher. Listen to the low, the original one I was playing. Now listen to this. Same order of notes, an octave higher, but this looks more like an A chord. Now let's continue. Let's move that red dot to a D. Now once again, if I were to just move that same shape we used for A to the right to the next 3 string group and play those 3 notes exactly the same, listen what that sounds like. It's minor again because we didn't make the B string adjustment. So let's make that B string adjustment. And now that red note is actually on a D because we've got B, C, C sharp, D. And look, that's that really familiar shape that most of us recognize as a D chord. But believe it or not, it's the same exact order of notes that the E and the A chord were. And it's really the same shape, but with all the B string adjustments made. And you can use this technique to your advantage. Let's say your band is jamming on an E, and you end up playing that red dot on the 7th fret of the A string, and you play the other shape that the blue dots are making. It's going to sound like this over an E, and that's kind of a cool. And you really like that sound, but you want to play it somewhere else on another string set. So let's say you decide to move the red note to another E, D, D sharp, E, and you decide to play that same shape. Ooh, that doesn't sound the same at all. And the only reason it doesn't sound the same is because you didn't make the B string adjustment. So just move that shape up 1 fret and listen to the difference. Maybe you like the sound on that string set better. Maybe you want to stay in a lower position on the 2nd fret because this is actually on the 2nd fret now, an E. There's all kinds of reasons for doing it, but as long as you always make that B adjustment, you can play almost any shape that you like all over the neck. Now this time let's move that same shape over a string set to the G string and find an E, which is on the 9th fret, and play that same shape. It's kind of a cool sound, but it's definitely not that funky sound that we were hearing. And the only reason, you got it, the B string needs to be adjusted. Move it up a fret. Now you've got that's how it works. You can also use it to create your own little scales. Once again, let's stick with E for a minute. There's an E. We find this red dot on the A string. So to get to the E, we have to go up to the 7th fret. So place that red dot on the 7th fret. It's an octave higher than the open E string. Okay, and let's say someone's jamming on that, and you like that shape. Do 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 do. You like that sound, but it's too low. You want that to be higher. So you want to find an E note on a higher string set, but you like that shape. So you move up to the E on the D string. 2nd fret of the D string is an E, and that's what this is going to sound like. You're like, oh my gosh, it's the same shape, has the exact same sound. That's because we didn't have to make a B adjustment. But this is also a higher note when you play the 2nd string on the 2nd fret on the D string. The E string, it was the 7th fret. So there's the 7th fret of the A string. I'm playing up here. And the 2nd fret on the D string are the exact same notes. So that really doesn't sound any different. So let's go over to the G string and find an E. Okay, and the E note on the G string would actually be up on the 9th fret. So it's pretty high. But watch what happens when we play that same shape. Doesn't sound right. In fact, it has sort of an exotic flavor to it that you might like, and you might want to use that over an E chord. And you can move that shape around making your B adjustments. But for right now, we're still looking for the sound. And here is not it because we haven't made the adjustment on the B string. So move everything up a fret and now play that shape. It's the same as, and all because of that B string move. So you can use this technique on chords, on triads, double stops, scales, little groups of notes. You can use it for anything, and you can find out which one is the root. So if you like a sound over a certain chord, find out which note is fitting that chord best, and it might not even be part of it. This note right here might not be the note that's part of the chord, but as long as you're finding the same note all over the neck, you'll be able to use the same shape, just remembering anytime you're on the B string, adjust everything up 1 fret. That way you can play the same shapes on different string sets for a different tonality, a different timbre, different sound. You can play in higher octaves. You can use it to play the same shape on notes that are close to where you're playing right now. It's just amazing. When I really started getting into guitar and into theory, I was so overwhelmed because there were so many shapes. I was thinking, oh my gosh, an E chord has 15 different shapes. But when I discovered this, I started to realize, no, they're all the same shape. It's just when they get to that B string, the B string kind of messes things up a little bit. And if you use that knowledge to your advantage, it really simplifies things. So go play around with this. It's really worth your time. Good luck, and we'll see you in the next video.